Hi, I'm Hoople's Cat. This is my climate change channel. My main channel is Hoople's Cat EPL, which stands for Emergency Preparedness Lifestyle, or prepping, but it's not really prepping. I have a very long interest in global health and in science, and I have a master's in science, but it's in nursing, and from that perspective I'm going to do videos on this channel that I think are interesting about the generalized topic of the environment, both the inner environment of ourselves and the planet we're on Earth, and also the external environment beyond the Earth. It's going to range from a lot of different topics, but stay tuned, I think you'll get something out of this. I'm going to start the series while I'm on vacation, kayaking in the wonderful country of Canada, in Ontario, for 5 days and 4 nights. So if you're interested in kayaking, get over to the other channel. Anyway, I want to talk about a piece of scientific research that was fairly widely covered in the popular press, but I don't think many of the people that covered it in the popular press actually read the journal article. The article begins by explaining why it's using YouTube. It explains that research previously done has shown that most people require higher intellectual ability to read text, whether it's print or online, and for that reason increasingly in the modern age people are getting their scientific and news information from videos like this rather than actually reading newspapers or reading science journals, and they wanted to see what people who were searching for information on the climate were actually viewing from YouTube. So what is YouTube? I hope we all know we're on it. It has over probably 1 billion users. There's just over 3 billion internet users online, so it's captured about 1/3 of all internet users. The younger you are, the more likely you are to use YouTube for news and science information and medical information, and yet there is no control, there's no rank order, it's a free-for-all. And a lot of times when you see videos with lots of views, that actually will alter your opinion into believing that their video is truer than other videos with smaller views. They've actually studied this. They did a climate change video and they put it online on YouTube with very small views. Then they re-released the video with a very large number of views and studied the responses, and it was apparent that people were more impacted by the video with a large number of views, not the actual content. And I think that's an important fact. Speaking specifically about climate change, if you ever one of my climate change videos, you'll see me represent the consensus, which is that it's an absolute fact and we're causing it, humans, and we're doing it by burning fossil fuels. But if you go to YouTube, you'll see a lot of people cast doubt on one that there's a scientific consensus, which is frankly untrue. The consensus is around about 98 to 99%, and to expect a consensus ever to be 100%, you're insane. But it is a fact, and all the scientific bodies of the world accept that, and almost all the scientists do. Finding 1 or 2 crazy people out there who don't believe in it isn't proving there isn't a consensus. There is a consensus among scientists about climate change. The problem is there isn't a consensus among the general public. Even worse, amongst the YouTube viewing audience, they believe there is still a scientific debate to be had about if climate change is human caused or not. Now, it's pretty apparent among scientists that there is no debate. The question is speed and extent of the climate that we're faced with changing, not whether we're changing it or not. I think that's an important point. Scientists have a very hard time communicating with the general public, generally speaking, because of various factors. I can ramble off a few right now. A large number of people have distrust in government, a large number of people have a distrust in science, a large number of people don't have the education to understand science, and this is the crucial part. There is a lot of money going into from the oil industry to actually muddy the waters, to make it unclear. In the last 4 years on my site, I've seen it go from there is no such thing as climate change, you're insane, to it was caused by chemtrails, which we'll get into. And also what it's become now is, yes, the climate's warming, but it's probably not humans that are doing it. Or yes, the climate's warming, but humans have a small part of that. All 4 of those statements are incorrect. Humans have a massive role in the current global warming, and there is a scientific consensus and there is no scientific debate on that. So this researcher, as you can see, picked 10 search terms to use on YouTube, And numbers 9 and 10 that they selected were picked specifically because they are terms that are used by people who do not believe in climate change. So they're trying to spread it around, seeing if you're actually looking for anti-arguments, whether you were finding them or not. And they do explain the other terms quite well as well, and the actual original paper is worth a look at. By now I think we all know what filter bubble and echo chambers are, specifically on YouTube and Facebook and other areas. That's where the algorithm sees what you like to watch and what you watch the longest and what you click on and what you comment on in, and will give you more of the same. So for example, if you firmly believe in chemtrails, most of your online viewing on YouTube will support that viewpoint, and that's kind of a problem. But let's have a little look at chemtrails for a while. They talk about chemtrails in detail. What they're talking about chemtrails is fascinating stuff, and they use old research to back it up. And I think it's well worth a look at this if you're actually a believer in chemtrails, because the whole concept behind chemtrails is farcical. It doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever to actually be able to believe that there's a worldwide government that's spraying us from the air is absolutely crazy. The atmosphere is way more moist because of human-caused climate change, and that's why you see more contrails. And there's also patterns because of how airlines fly. And you can go to many apps online and see what actually made the contrails in the sky. And yet some of my supporters on the other channel are fervent believers in this. It is tantamount to religious, their belief. So to break through that, it will be very, very difficult. But what are people seeing when they're looking for climate change and those top 10 searches on YouTube? So for most of the terms, what they did was they searched between the end of January 2015 and the middle of December 2015. I guess they wanted Christmas off. And they also did multiple searches to make sure that the results they were getting were reasonable. Now they used Tor, and they made sure there was no actual pre-existing history. So obviously any history of being on YouTube as the identified user watching YouTube is going to direct the algorithm to send you more of the videos you have liked and clicked on and spent time on, because eyeballs on videos in YouTube's terms is increased ad revenue. That's what it's all about. Now there was 4 categories they divided this into. When they looked at the 200 videos, they checked to see which of the categories. Category 1, the video supported mainstream science and scientific consensus view on human-induced climate change. They also had category 2. There was a discussion and a debate format in which the science, the mainstream science, was discussed with people who disagreed, and no particular position was advocated by the video. This is what is known as journalistic balance. Journalistic balance gives equal weighting to people who shouldn't. For example, if 1% of climate scientists don't believe in human-caused climate change, 99% of the scientists on TV should be saying we believe in it and 1% shouldn't. But journalistic balance will give 50% of the time to the people who don't follow the consensus view. This may or may not be good in your opinion. I think it depends on what you want. And what we want is a world that doesn't keep heating up year after year, because that's going to kill us all. The other videos were actually denying the scientific mainstream positions, such as saying human-induced climate change does not occur. There's many of those online. The other one was conspiracy theories about science and technology without reference to actual scientific discussions. You see this a lot, and you will see this a lot online, where people like myself will grab the camera and talk about a scientific position without actually referencing any scientific journals at all, but present it very slickly with good hair and good teeth and very sexy usually, and will convince you it's true. Now this is not altogether a bad thing. The more people out there understand and are reached by science, the better. But when these videos are actually telling people lies, direct lies in most cases, or best, they're cherry picking tiny amounts of data and making it appear that the truth is not the truth. For example, the famous plateau in human-caused climate change in 2016, I believe. There was no plateau. Carbon dioxide keeps rising, global temperatures keep rising. And this is very much linked into people who believe that sunspots and the global minimum and the Maunder minimum and all of that stuff actually exists to the degree that it could even reverse human-caused climate change, where it's scientific fact that all of those things can't do anything to prevent the rise in temperature. They'll drop it slightly, the rise, but the rise is the rise. So that's what you need to be looking out for. You need to get your scientific stuff from category 1. If you went to a doctor and they promoted stuff from category 4, you wouldn't be too pleased. Now that being said, there's people online who actually have huge distrust in modern medicine as well. And some of them have good reasons for it, because of the opioid crisis and stuff like that. But I'm not going to get into the anti-vaxxer movement here. But people take a little bit of truth or a little bit of data and pull it out to make clickbait, sensationalist videos. They get a large number of people watching it because people want to have their own personal biases and misinformation reinforced. And before you know it, they're crossing the country and going to conferences where these same people who are not scientists are saying utter bilge. This is how Flat Earthers got going. Flat Earth was a joke online that now a large number of people believe. So we're going to look at the results, and the bottom line is this was 2015. I believe in 2019 it has got terribly, terribly worse. What they found was that for the top 4 terms that they used, they found great news. Climate change, climate science and global warming. Almost all of them adhered to the consensus point of view, except for some of them. But if you have a look at the samples, it gets a little bit interesting as you get further down into the crazy land. Geoengineering, climate manipulation, climate hacking, climate engineering, climate modification and chemtrails. Of 120 videos, 97 of them had no scientific merit and were not represented the consensus in science and falsely portrayed scientific research and detail. They found that overall, by a slight number, the number of views actually were in category 1 on climate change. But it was very, very marginal. It was like 16 million point something to 60 million point the same with a handful. And that was 2015. I would argue by now in 2019, the number of people that actually accept climate change has risen, but I would argue the number of people watching anti-climate change videos online has also risen. There's a strong motivation for people to feel outside of the norm, to feel special, to have special insight, to be able to look at people with PhDs and dismiss them as NASA paid agents and trying to pad their own research grants by pushing climate change conspiracy to get things, amongst others, gay marriage. I've heard that. But I would point out, big oil has a vested interest in spending tens of millions of dollars on specifically setting up anti-human caused climate change sites and organizations and giving a lot of money to politicians. And yet that never seems to dawn on these people, and it's a really dangerous thing. So my argument here is that we need to stick to category 1. When we discuss climate change and when people make comments, just tell them the truth. No, there's a consensus. No, human-caused climate change is happening. Yes, human-caused climate change is real. No, I don't have to prove reality is false to you. You have to prove your false reality to me is true. Now, there isn't some good news here. They found a lot of the videos with the most watched, the most numbers of people, were on the real outside list of crazy stuff. Chemtrails, over 10 million people viewed them. Now, a view doesn't mean they watched the whole video. A view doesn't mean that they wanted to watch the whole video. A view doesn't mean they accepted the whole video. What it does mean is that the YouTube algorithm picked that video for them to watch. Now, I watch a lot of anti-flat earth videos. I find it therapeutic to watch really dumb people try basic science and fail. It makes me feel special. It's a guilty pleasure. But the very fact that those people are out there pushing videos, pushing anti-science, should give us all cause for serious concern. The world is in serious problem. Even the IPCC, largely ignoring a lot of feedback mechanisms, thinks we have at the moment 11.5 years to go carbon neutral across the globe. Or there'll be mega disasters. Mega, hundreds of millions to billions of people. Anyway, that's all for me. I am currently kayaking, so I won't be responding to any comments at all until I get back from kayaking, and I will respond to each and every comment. The purpose of this site is not to argue with people that don't accept scientific consensus on climate change. The purpose of this site is to give people who are interested in the topic a little bit of different news, things that come up every week or so that I want to focus on, and also to give people who are interested in the topic a medium of looking at it in great detail. I believe that human-caused climate change is the #1 existential threat to global survival for most of the species on this planet. It really disturbs me that so many people who I consider to be intelligent, who I know via YouTube, really don't seem to understand the basic science of what's going on, why we're having so many floods, why the weather's unstable, why food crops are not doing as great as they used to, and why it's hotter. Do we really need science to tell people that the last 4 years have been the hottest ever in human recorded history? Do we really need that? Apparently we do. So I would encourage anybody out there who wants to make a VR to this to please do so, and let me know in the comments below if you want to make a VR attacking this channel and checking this video. Feel free. Join the numerous other videos out there that are attacking science. I'm not sure why you would bother to do that. If you're not bothered by climate change, why are you watching this video? Anyway, take care. Peace of sane.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting here. I got time, it's clear to see.